to Jackson Cloud. I'm Jamin.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Olivia.
And we're moving through the 7 letters to 7 churches today. We're in Smyrna.
What?
Smyrna. So we have a threefold system when Jesus is talking to churches, writing his little Yelp reviews of them, right? Remember what the threefold system is? Number 1.
Hi.
Well, yeah.
Number 2.
But Jesus glorifies himself in a unique way of his talking. So in our last letter, it was...
Listen, don't make this difficult. It's just hi. It's... Listen, this is what I gotta say. And golden carrot. That's what it is.
Golden carrot.
I'm thinking Minecraft. Sorry.
Oh.
A carrot. Carrot in the stick. Carrot.
Okay. Well, the angel of the church in Smyrna, write the words of the first and the last who died and came to life. That's already been talked about in chapter 1 of Revelation, right?
Right.
Just like the 7 stars and all that. Jesus exalts himself in the image that John saw in chapter 1. And then, yes, he goes on to give the Yelp review. So let's take a look at what Smyrna gets. And if you want to know more about the letters, check out our last episode. We're going to focus in on Smyrna today. I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich. Yes, Lord, I will receive that. not the richness. I mean the
sure.
I mean the richness.
Taking out of context.
The richness within my poverty.
Prosperity gospel.
Yep. Well, let's pause on that, though. I know your tribulation and your poverty, but then in parentheses, but you are rich. So clearly, on one hand, we know that they're all facing like a lot of difficulty, right? Let me pull from David Une. I gotta learn how to say that last name. Aune. He says, the fact that no mention is made of the economic poverty of the other 6 Christian communities suggests that the situation of this congregation is unusual. Their poverty can be construed in several ways. They represent the lowest class of society. They had property confiscated or stolen by hostile pagan neighbors. They had been reduced to penury through the liberality of their giving. So they gave so much money that they're poor now, I guess. Uncompromising Christians found it difficult to make a living in a pagan environment. These are 4 suggestions he gives. But all the other churches aren't going to be called like poor. So in this particular case for Smyrna, it's like there's clearly lack of resources. Like it's deeper than just like normal poverty, if you will. Yeah. This is the letter written at 1208, of which Jackson Cloud is a part. I know your tribulation and your poverty, but parentheses, but you are rich. Yes, we will receive that. Not in the prosperity kind of way, in the spiritual richness, not the financial richness. All right.
You gotta find a different word, because
Clearly I do.
Having to say that every time is gonna be rough.
I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich. And the slander of those that say that they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. What you want to do with that one?
False prophets.
Didn't know Satan had a synagogue.
I think it's basically just calling people out. You know, they claim to be Christians, they claim to be followers, but they are not following me. Kind of a...
Yep. And that one thing that I do want to mention, sometimes people, this is really strange to me. Some people read the letters of the New Testament and they see it as like anti-Semitic. But like these people are Jewish, so they're not like anti themselves. Do we understand that? The difficulty is that people throughout history have read these letters through their own cultural lens. So when they see, the Jews are a synagogue of Satan, they completely miss the context of what was going on, which is not like John was like, trying to just suddenly say that the Jews are like, So he's not being anti himself or anti the other Jews or anti Jesus who was Jewish, right? For them, like Christianity isn't even exactly a
as much of a thing yet.
Yeah, I mean, they've been called Christians at this point, but to them, like, Christianity is the extension.
That's like a nickname. That's not a
Yeah,
whole
it's what it
separate
means
thing.
to be fully Jewish, if you will, right?
Right.
Like, Jesus is their Messiah. They do not, therefore, become un-Jewish. They become...
Jewish 2.0.
Yeah, they have the next... they have, for them, they're saying, you know, Jesus is the Messiah, the one we've been waiting for and all that.
Yeah.
So in their mind, they would not be, like, anti-Semitic in the sense that just, like, you know, the way that people interpret it throughout history. But instead, he's clearly seeing that some of the Jews are persecuting the church. And can you think of where that could be true anywhere?
Saul.
Yeah,
Rome.
yeah. Paul. Before Paul becomes Saul, like, Saul was one of them. Where this line could have fit for Paul himself, that he says he's a Jew, but he's not. He is part of the synagogue of Satan. In other words, like, he might be Jewish, but he's actually working on the things that he's doing is persecuting the church, which is exactly what Satan wants to do to the church.
Right.
And so Saul is participating in that way. I'll pull from N.T. right here. This means that, like it or not, the Jewish synagogue in Smyrna has become a Satan synagogue, not just in vague, general, abusive sense, but in the rather sharply defined sense that as the Satan is literally the accuser, the synagogue in town has been accusing the Christians of all kinds of wickedness. And that's what the word Satan means. It's to accuse. It's one of the meanings of that word. And so this poor, impoverished church has been undergoing the slander of Jews in the area. And as they have slandered and blasphemed them, they are being oppressed by Satan. Okay. We clear on all that?
Yeah.
That work? This is not anti-Semitic, is what I was trying to get at here. Do not fear what you are about to suffer. Those are comforting words.
Yes, you are about to suffer, but don't fear.
Yeah, I was just reading between the cross and the lynching tree, or between the lynching tree and the cross. Sorry, I'm saying the title one way or the other. And James H. Cone in that book talks about, like, Martin Luther King at one point had this moment of, like, just knowing this is not going to end well for me. Have you seen the movie Selma? Selma deals a lot throughout the movie, like MLK just being like, is almost in his character, you can see this knowing, like, I'm going to die eventually. That this will kill me in the end. You also see him carrying this weight of all these people who are, like, close to him and helping him, these leaders, because he wants to keep, like, he needs their help, but he also is afraid for their own safety type thing, which seems to be even harder for him to carry than the weight of his own death. There's a very Jesus element to this, like, I will be conquered, but out of that there will be a rise within the American system to recognize what it's done. Very cross-like through what MLK did. But Martin Luther King hit this point where, like, he just knew that was inevitable, and he had this moment where God shifted something in him, is what Cone said, where he no longer feared it. And that's kind of something that I get right here. You know, when Jesus tells you not to fear, that's an extra safety. When the red letters show up and Jesus himself is, I showed up to John, I'm writing this to you, these are literally my words. You are about to suffer, yes, but don't fear. That's probably a bigger word of encouragement than we would think. Even though we read it and it's hard to take it that way, right? He goes on, behold, the devil is about to throw some of you in prison, that you may be tested, and for 10 days you will have tribulation. Lots of unpleasant things for Smyrna. I know your tribulation and your poverty. By the way, you've got tribulation coming. We already had it.
So far, this is a 1-star review. Like, this
No,
is
this
not...
isn't 1 star. This is, like, I think the church in Smyrna might be like 1 star on what we feel about this review. But
Okay.
it hasn't said anything bad about them, right? If anything, Jesus is telling them, like, you're rich. Like he's speaking into their situation. I see the truth of what's going on here. You've been hurt. You've been slandered. People have made you suffer. Satan is making you suffer. And it said the devil is about to throw some of you in prison. So what do you do with that? Like, who throws people in prisons? Anybody want to say it, or you want me to say it?
You say it.
The government. The government. They're the authorities that throw people in prison. Or just like Paul got people in prison when he was Saul, maybe these Jews related to the synagogue of Satan are reporting them and slandering them, getting them thrown into prison, right? Could be like that. But one way or another, Jesus says, like, it's the work of Satan behind all these things. The religious oppression that you're running into, it's the work of Satan. The governmental oppression that you're running into, it's the work of Satan. And that weirds a lot of people out, but we have just, for the first time in the letter of Revelation, touched the tip of the iceberg that is this giant statement about the principalities and powers behind the country and worship of emperor and all that. Like, if that makes you uncomfortable, you're in the wrong book, because it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you got to read the whole Bible to kind of balance it out, because if you only had Revelation to read it, you'd just be like, Satan's everywhere. But yeah,
football's the devil.
It does. We're going to see, like, this is just a small little glimpse. How could the devil throw me into prison? How could the authorities do that? Well, they're all connected in John's mind to the beast in a bigger picture of the way in which Satan is persecuting us. Now, if governments work rightly, then they will do good. But when they don't image God, they image the beast, and then Christians are in trouble because the beast wants to devour them. Okay? That's just a small glimpse later. But you'll be tested. 10 days you'll have tribulation. And then that's where I'm like, okay, all right, tested. I'm going to be tested for 10 days. Okay, it gets better. Good thing. We'll get out. Be faithful unto death. That's not funny, I guess.
That doesn't sound like that's going to get better.
Yeah. And he didn't say it would get better. He said 10 days you will have tribulation. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life.
So in other words, they're going to be face tribulation until death.
10 days of torture.
Right, and then you're all going to
killed.
die.
It's possible. Maybe not all of them, maybe some of them.
Yep, they're definitely giving this a 1 to a half star review.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that this was hard to stomach. Honestly, the best words in here. Oh, check it. When your phone's your camera, it's hard to stop. But yeah, when you're, what was I talking about?
Death.
Never mind. I don't want to know what I was talking about. When we look at stories like this, though, like, this is a hard word to stomach.
Yeah.
But be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. It's the same thing as the last letter. To die is actually to conquer. To suffer is actually to win. That there is victory in death because Jesus has modeled that for us, and now we will have to go through that too. And then Jesus says, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. The one who conquers will not be hurt by the second death. We'll talk about the second death because that's way at the end of Revelation, but essentially, like, that's the resurrection. That's like you either go on to eternal death where everything dies, or you go on to eternal life where those things live. So, when Jesus comes to this passage right here, hey, what in this letter was actually bad about Smyrna?
There's nothing bad about the Church of Smyrna.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot bad about what the Church of Smyrna has been going through and is going to go through.
Yeah. There's almost a certain element here of like those churches and communities that are missed, that are doing so much, but like nobody catches on to it. Because like, look, compared to the last letter, like this one's actually about half the size. but it has nothing bad to say. Like, this is a
Well,
well
it's-
done, good and faithful servant kind of thing.
Well, it's that, but it also is like it's weird that it's giving them a heads up on things to come.
I mean, I would want that heads up.
I know, but it's like this one is like, you know, be better or you'll have to face me. This
The first
is
letter to Ephesus.
yeah, but then this one is like, you have all the support you need. You can be blessed, but heads up, people don't like you because of that.
Hmm.
Like you're about to get attacked, and so it's like, yeah, in terms of, I guess God's rating upon them would be very high.
Yeah.
But the words that are written there are scary.
It's scary.
Because, like, facing 10 days in a jail with most likely death to be your outcome,
Yeah.
that would be hard to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, knowing like this pain that we're going to go through is going to be short-lived. You know, we've got 10 days, but after that, we conquer and we move on to the next part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about knowing your time frame.
But it's one of those things where it's weird to know this is all you have left. Or, like, knowing your death date, as they've done in different movies or whatever, is like...
Yeah, and you do see that occasionally in the Bible happen too. Like you need to, like King Hezekiah, you've got this much time left, but then he prays and then is saved, or he's given a longer time. So you do have those moments. Doctors do that to people all the time.
Right.
And right here, you've just got this.
But isn't it different, though, when it comes from the mouth of Jesus comparatively to a
Well,
doctor?
I think you're looking at it the wrong way because you have to remember, like, Jesus isn't the one killing them.
Right.
Like, Jesus isn't saying 10 days and I'm gonna get you. It's, this is coming. I've got your back. It'll be okay.
But death.
that
But
would be
it's the
huge.
first death,
Yeah.
you know?
I think a lot of people would read this and just be freaked out. But like, again, to me, it's like the Martin Luther King thing. Like, if I'm gonna die, if I'm gonna suffer, knowing that it serves purpose and that like it's redeeming something and making a difference and is challenging the enemy, like that's setting you up right there for success. You know, I think of that movie you and I saw, Martin Scorsese's Silence something. Was it Andrew Garfield or something?
When he was a Jesuit priest?
Yeah, they're like ministers and
I actually know what movie you're talking
they're
about.
minister. He went and saw it with me. I don't know why I can't remember.
I haven't seen it, but Alex
That was like
talked
4
about this
years
movie a
ago.
lot.
Well, they go to be ministers in Japan, and you literally watch all these people just constantly be martyred in torturous, horrible ways. And like they did that knowing the words that we have in the Bible, but just imagine God speaking that to you specifically. Would that be terrifying? Yes. Would it also be empowering, or that Martin Luther King type thing of like, I'm on the right track and this is what I'm supposed to do despite where I know where this goes? Or the Jesus thing of, I'm on the right track and I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do even though this is going to end with the cross. That's what we have. This is the Garden of Gethsemane right here. Are you going to be faithful anyways? Are you going to continue to follow me? There is a way to get out of this. It's the same temptation Jesus had to worship Satan instead, and then he's not going to kill you. But, yeah. Powerful words to Smyrna, and hard for us to stomach, but good for us to think on. Do we have that same kind of level? And if this part makes you uncomfortable, again, welcome to a large book about martyrdom that is going to go on to have this theme over and over again. All the more reason we look at that first church that seems things are going well, councils being held here. If we could just love better, like that's almost the first world problems compared to this
Right.
church where it's like, We're already poor. We've been slandered. Our community hates us. We have tribulation. Now we're going to prison. 10 days, might be tortured, and we're going to die. And yet, no critique.
I mean, I guess for me, for that one, it's hard to have hope when you read that. Like, the do not fear is very hard after everything that comes. Like, it would be very difficult.
Yeah.
And that's all the more reason Revelation was necessary for people to hear, because they were all hitting difficult times where they were all going to face a lot of persecution and threats. So with that being said, let us know your thoughts and comments. How does this convict you? You can let us know in various places.
Like on the Discord.
That camera's on.
Or see if you can beat me to the first like on this video.
And we will catch you there.